I got to play more Assassin's Creed Shadows. Ubisoft shared a save file through GeForce Now that I got to play around with, so I cannot share my overall thoughts on the full game yet. My review will go live on March 18th. But in this video I can go over many things that I got to try on this special save file that do reveal some depth in the combat and stealth. I found some cool new gear items, and yes, I got to test the first Helix items as well that I earned for free through the new Animus Hub system. So lots to go over. I want to start with an important stealth realization, because if you want the best stealth experience in this game, play on Expert. So you can actually tweak the combat and stealth difficulty individually, but I wanted to see the impact. So here I go into this camp on the default normal difficulty, and I can just without issue run on these small walls. Enemies would not notice. I go on these roofs and have all the time in the world to plan my next move. But if I then switch to the expert difficulty and do the same thing, immediately when I run on these small walls, enemies are like, hey, who's that? So I had to climb down so they don't see me. The roofs are also not safe anymore, so they force me to go prone, and I eventually have to go down here. Like, Expert creates a completely different stealth experience. Enemies are way more aware of their surroundings and look up now, so you have to be way more strategic. Totally recommend this if you pride yourself as a skilled assassin. Now, combat so far did not seem to include the drastic changes on Expert, apart from the enemies killing you faster and taking a bit more hits to go down themselves. But I did notice some new things. For one, you totally want to use your environment to your advantage. With the Kusarigama from Naue, you can grab enemies and throw them against objects for nice extra damage. The Katana has an ability that lets you push enemies away as well, or you can send them flying with Yasuke's Kanebo jump attack, so smart to line these up correctly. Some camps of course also have these explosive barrels that you can use to your advantage, but with Yasuke you can actually grab them and throw them to an enemy and then blow them up that way, which was a ton of fun. But also focus on some of the more annoying enemies, like you have these general types who, if you don't interrupt them, can summon 2 soldiers that then randomly spawn and join the fight, and they can also summon an explosive barrage, but if you roll next to an enemy, they can actually hurt their allies, which was fun to see. And this was, by the way, a target I had to kill. I was just exploring Kyoto and encountered this samurai on the street with a crown icon, which indicates that it's a target on your objective board. So just like in the previous games, you can randomly run into them without having to focus on the particular clues. And after I assassinated him, his annoying general friend who summoned the soldiers would join the fight, so I got 2 targets by accident. I also found some shops while exploring Kyoto and way more. Real quick, there's still time to participate in my giveaway for 3 copies of Shadows. Simply like the video, be a subscriber, and they can enter via the link in the pinned comment. The gear vendor for me was selling some pretty scary masks for Naue. I bought the broken one with the red, that looks very awesome. I also went to an ornament shop where you can buy different horses, some pretty nice saddles that you can then immediately equip, and many hideout cosmetics. So, as said before, if you have big plans for your settlement, check these shops every season because then they have new stock. I also encountered guards that I could eavesdrop, and this would lead me in the direction of other targets. There was a beggar who asked for money. After I helped him, he gave information about a certain objective in the open world. And you will also encounter these Ronin roaming the roads that pose quite a challenge. They have unique moves that other enemies don't have. But you can also assassinate them before they engage and then easily get their loot, which totally seems to be the way to go. Another new addition is the fact that if some enemies see you, your assassinations will not work. And I can perfectly demonstrate that with this samurai I found on the street. So the text is red when I'm in his vision, but when I get behind him, I can assassinate him instantly. If you are hiding in the bush though and crouch down in front of him, you can also still instantly assassinate the target. If you do engage when he sees you, then the assassination is negated, but then you can still throw a smoke bomb, hide, and then try again for that insta-kill. Now there is a skill for Naue called Hand of the Creed that completely removes this, as the hidden blade can then no longer be denied when enemies see Naue coming, but you unlock that much later, so you have to keep this system in mind for a lot of your play session. But you will of course also get into a ton of fights with Naue, and it's really cool how each weapon next to the regular light and heavy attack combos also has a special playstyle. For the Tento, you can do an escape strike, where you wait for the enemy to get close and then slash them and quickly dodge away. But even cooler is that you can combine this with the leap strike that has you close the gap, you deal some damage to the target. If you then do the escape strike, you slash and dodge away, so you're basically in and out, deal damage without the enemy able to react, and it looks very cool too. With her katana, she has a special dodge attack that you can basically spam and also hit multiple enemies with. It's surprisingly good, and the kusarigama goes a bit further. So this is your regular kusarigama light attack combo where you use the sickle, but maybe you noticed that Naue flashes briefly. If you do a light attack right when she glows, you will perform a quick strike. So in this case, do 2 fast slashes with the sickle. For the heavy attack, we use the chain and swing that around, but if you time the heavy attack right for that quick strike, Naue will instead do this whirlwind attack where she hits the enemy way more often, and this in particular is great if you have affliction on your weapon. So what's different in Shadows is that any weapon can have any of the status effect types because it's a stat this time. It's not a special perk that you only find on a handful of weapons in the game. Now any weapon you loot can have it. So I got to try poison now, and it's pretty strong because if the enemy has no armor, they will be stunned and throw up, while also taking damage over time, which can of course kill them without you having to do anything. And like I said, I could use some Helix items, and this is where the Aikyo Kusarigama comes in. I got this for free through the Reda-like system that I sadly cannot talk about in this video, but I will of course explain in the future. But the perk on this weapon was really awesome, as you can now press the light or heavy attack button directly after a dodge to also trigger that quick strike. So then you don't have to focus on these glows anymore and can just spam the whirlwind attack. This weapon also has the poison build-up, so yeah, as you can see, it's a very powerful combo. Of course, in true Helix fashion, this weapon also has a green glow around it. We've seen weapons like this before in the previous games. The other Helix item I got to try is the Armor of the Undead, that creates a poison cloud on a parry, a perk we saw in Valhalla of course as well, on a shield. In Shadows it works different, as it for one only appears for a brief moment. It seems to only poison one enemy, and worst of all, it gives you the status effect as well, so you also take damage over time when you use this perk. And I'm not sure if that's supposed to happen, but it makes this a really bad chest. Now it does of course have the unique look and should be combined with that helmet we already saw in the Animus Hub video. Still though, I don't think this one is worth it. Now better is a chest piece I got for completing the military castle in Kyoto. This would let me parry unblockable attacks, so then you don't have to dodge away when the enemy does this red glowing attack, which is a game changer. And I love the look of the protector's armor too. I could also use other free items that you could claim, like the hourglass that you got if you were paying attention during the reveal and watched my videos. It looks really cool and can be great for a day's build because it increases the duration of that powerful effect. The Naginata from the root beer was also something I could try. You can still get this, a link on how to in the video description. It should have a unique look, it works great on the bamboo, but overall this weapon is nothing special. Still a nice way to get an early epic weapon though, because these purple items start dropping way later. And the special attack with the Naginata lets you perform a very cool combo out of a block, but you have to learn the button combinations. It looks very cool though. The Kanabo is of course very slow, but you can increase the weapon's speed if you press the light or heavy attack button just when you hit an enemy, so that's another timing thing. And with the katana, you can put the weapon away, charge it up, and then unleash the attack. This one in particular is very, very awesome. Next week on March 18th, I will have my spoiler-free review of the full game, and that is also when the spoiler-free tips and tricks will start. I will livestream open world exploration, there are Twitch drops if you watch on Twitch, and way more. Just subscribe if you haven't already to not miss any of it. We're so close, I can't wait for you to play. Now don't forget to leave a like, check out my most recent video by clicking on the screen, and I will speak to you very soon. Goodbye.